am Dr. Parveen Malik, and today I am trying to make you understand the types of variable. There are five types of variable in terms of research methodology: independent variable, dependent variable, moderator variable, control variable, and intervening variable. Today we are going to discuss about the independent variable. Now, what is independent variable? The variable whose value affects the value of another variable is called the independent variable. Such a variable affects the value of another variable. Generally, the effect of such a variable on another variable is measured or studied during a research study. The independent variable is also called the absolute variable. Let's try to understand this concept with the help of an example. In a comparative study of the moral value of graduate students of different faculties. Now, here, faculty will be considered as the independent variable. Why? Because in this study, the researcher will examine the effect of faculty on the moral value of the students. There can be different levels of faculty like arts, commerce, science. Here, researchers assume that students' moral value may differ from faculty to faculty. Each level of the independent variable is called a stratum. That means arts individually, commerce individually, and science individually called stratum. And all the levels together are known as strata. The number of levels and independent variable has to be divided into depends on how large the area under study is to be covered. If the researcher wanted to compare the moral value of engineering and medical students in the given example, then the five levels of faculty would be the independent variable in this example. Some independent variables, such as gender, have a fixed number of levels. For example, in the study of emotional maturity of students in terms of gender, only two levels of gender would be considered, male and female. But nowadays, the third level of gender, that is transgender, is also universally accepted. In such cases, there will be three levels of gender, for example, male, female, and transgender. Generally, the study of the effect of independent variable on dependent variable is done through research, or study of dependent variables in relation to independent variable. This is all about independent variable. The dependent variable. The variable which can change due to change in the value of some other variable is called a dependent variable. In other words, such a characteristic is called a dependent variable for which different values can be obtained in relation to the change in the independent variable. Thus, we can say that a change in the value of the independent variable can cause a change in the value of the dependent variable. Let's try to understand these concepts with the help of an example. In a comparative study of students' mental health with reference to their social problem, mental health would be the dependent variable and social problem would be considered as an independent variable, as the study is to examine the effect of social problem on mental health. The researcher divides the students according to the level of their social problem, which can be high, low, and medium, or very high, high, medium, low, and very low. Levels will be decided according to the need and objective of the study. Generally, there has been a cause and effect relationship between the dependent and independent variable, where the independent variable acts as a cause and the dependent variable acts as an effect. In our example, the researcher takes a social problem as a cause and mental health as an effect, because here he wants to test whether mental health is affected by social problem or not. In real life, we find that a trait is influenced by more than one factor. In such cases, there may be two or more variables that can change the value of the dependent variable. For example, students' achievement in any given subject may be affected by various factors such as teaching strategy, intelligence, attention or understanding level, study habits. There may be other factors too. In such cases, the researcher has to consider the moderator variable as well. What is moderator variable? We know that the independent variable affects the value of the dependent variable, and there has been a cause and effect relationship between the two. The variable that affect the cause and effect relationship of any two variables are called moderator variables. This means that the effect of the independent variable on the dependent variable may be different in the presence of the moderator variable. Let's try to understand this concept with the help of an example. In the study of social problems of urban, rural, and semi urban students, the area will be independent variable and the social problem will be dependent variable. But here, if the researcher feels that the gender of the students can also influence the relationship between the student's area and the social problem, then gender will be considered as the moderator variable. There can be different moderator variables for a pair of independent and dependent variables. In such cases, the researcher has to decide which variable he wants to take as the moderator variable. The researcher has to be extra careful while selecting the moderator variable. If sincere and due care is not taken, important moderator variable will be ignored and useless variables will be selected. If the researcher does not want to examine the effect of the moderator variable, he controls it. If the effect of variables that can affect the cause and effect relationship of dependent and independent variables is eliminated, it is called a control variable. In other words, we can say that if the effect of the moderator variable is controlled, is known as the control variable. In our previous example, the study of social problems, at last we have taken variables area as independent variable like urban, rural and semi-urban and social problem as dependent variable. If researcher defines a problem as a study of social problems of male students of urban, rural and semi-urban secondary schools of Ahmedabad district, then the variable gender will become the controlling variable because in this case he does not want to check the impact of gender on social problem as he mentioned only male in a title. The variables for this study will be classified as the area dependent variable with urban, rural and semi-urban levels jointly called strata, social problem as the dependent variable and gender as the controlling variable. We have discussed the types of such variables till now which can be clearly measured or taken care of during research. But some variables are such that they either cannot be measured or should be ignored during the study. They may affect the cause and effect relationship of the dependent and independent variables. They are known as intervening variables. What is intervening variable? Any such variable is called an intervening variable which can affect the cause and effect relationship of dependent and independent variables, but either cannot be measured or must be ignored during research. This means the intervening variables are neither controlled nor taken into account during research. In other words, any moderator variable which cannot be measured or observed or ignored is called an intervening variable. In our previously mentioned example, a study of social problem of male students of urban, rural and semi-urban secondary schools of Ahmedabad district. Here, researcher classified variables such as independent variable where area, urban, rural and semi-urban which are called strata. Social problem is dependent variable and gender is control variable, which is male in our example. But some variables other than the moderator and control variables can also influence the cause and effect relationship of the dependent and independent variables in our example. For example, school environment, social environment, culture of family, extra reading, age of students, value awareness of parents, emotional maturity of students, parenting style of parents. In our example, these variables are ignored. Therefore, they are called intervening variables for the example that we have discussed till now. There may be more intervening variables for this particular example. The researcher has to make decision about such variables by consulting experts and by referencing and reviewing the theoretical literature and from earlier related research. Actually, the variables of the study are decided by deciding the objectives of the study and formulating the hypothesis of the study. We will learn about the objectives in the next lecture. Thank you very much for watching my video.